Well, over the last few years, there have been numerous, challenges faced by fixed ops directors as well as entire dealerships, and that all stems from the inventory shortage. And the inventory shortage has created a cascading effect into the service department. And what I mean by that is obviously there's much fewer new vehicles on the lot. That means there's fewer vehicles coming in, which means there's fewer vehicles to do a pre-delivery inspection or a PDI on. So that adversely affects revenue in the service department. And as fewer new cars come in and become available, there's fewer trade-ins. So the used car department also suffers, and that affects service because there's not as much, vehicles to perform reconditioning on. And then lastly, and this is more tangentially related really, but there's no courtesy cars. So in terms of a service department, not having courtesy cars or loaner cars available to customers, that exacerbates the problem and results in, a lot of dissatisfied customers. Now, granted, some customers, obviously understand the situation, but other customers, it's a legitimate, problem for trying to get work done on their car when they can't get another one to use in the meantime. The inventory issues obviously fall in line, because of the economy. And the economy right now is red hot. I'm not an economist. It's not for me to say why it's red hot, but at the end of the day, it is. Customers are demanding more and more new vehicles. And when they can't find those, they're buying late model used vehicles. So there's a cascading effect in terms of the pricing. New vehicles become more and more expensive with less and less rebates offered by the manufacturer. That in turn drives up the price, of the used cars. So as long as the consumer demand remains this hot, the manufacturers have a hard time keeping pace. So what happens is, a dealer may have 40 cars on the ground when they would normally have 200. They get another 50 cars in, so they sell 90 for the month. And at the end of the day, they still have 40 cars in stock when the month is over. So it's a challenge. Without inventory growing on the lot, things are going to remain like this for a while. The entire inventory issue right now is, created from the pandemic. With the pandemic and in the early days of the pandemic, with cities and economies and businesses, shutting down, so to speak, and everybody working from home, that drove the demand for items like personal computers, new cell phones, all the technology aspects that people have, brought home over the last year and a half. At the same time, automobile manufacturers, not knowing what was going to happen as everybody was, sequestered at home, cut way back on their chips that they ordered for their production. Vehicles today require, more than one computer chip in order to make everything work, with the state of the technology that's in the new vehicle. So when the manufacturers scaled back their orders and canceled orders, the other industries like computers, cell phones, televisions, whatever the case, increased their orders, which, created a chip shortage for automobile manufacturers, and it's affected other industries as well, but really within the last 12 months is when, the auto industry has felt that pinch. And until that, again, the manufacturing catches up with the demand, it's going to stay like that. And the problem was made worse because I believe there was a manufacturing facility in Asia that had a fire and burned down some of their capacity in terms of being able to manufacture the chips. So it's kind of hit with a double whammy. I've been in the automobile industry for over 30 years. I've seen strikes by manufacturers, GM strikes. I've been through manufacturer bankruptcies. I thought I had seen it all up until the last year and a half. I know when we had vehicles, manufacturing strikes, that, inventory was depleted, we spaced the cars out further, instead of having all the cars in a row, would space cars out 10, 15 apart. But when you only have, 10 or 20 new vehicles in stock right now, you can't space them out, 100 feet. between each car to still make the lot look full. There's no way you can do that. So, I mean, no, I've not seen, anything like this in my 30 plus years in the automobile industry. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, dealership profit levels for the last year and a half are at record levels because the margins now are so good. When you have a new vehicle, that's selling for $5,000 to $10,000 over list price, compared to it being sold at $3 or $4 or $5,000 below list price before. One vehicle sale now is making up for 4 or 5 vehicle sales in the old dynamic, I guess. But so now dealers aren't going to be anxious to return to it. The real question is going to be, at what point do the manufacturers adjust their manufacturing capacity? Because right now the manufacturers are pretty happy with it also, because their incentive spend is down dramatically. I guarantee you right now in manufacturers, they are trying to figure out the sweet spot between, having more cars than we do today, but also not having inventory issues like we've had in the past, where it's, inventory pressure sale and giveaway mode, and everybody's, being too aggressive with their pricing. So right now, given the inventory pressures, especially since there's so few new cars available, and they're commanding a premium, and late model used cars are almost as expensive as they were when they were brand new, which I've never seen before. Many customers are opting to repair their car, so that creates a huge opportunity, for service departments, whereas, a customer has that older car that now all of a sudden needs a transmission or needs an engine or needs, a substantial, amount of work. A lot of times now that customer is opting to get the work done, because one, either there's no car that they could buy that they would like, or two, the premium for the new car is so much more expensive. Fixing the old one right now just makes sense. So that creates a huge opportunity. But again, fixed operation directors and service managers have to utilize every opportunity they get that comes through that service drive right now, whether it's effective labor rate, hours per RO. There's fewer built-in revenue streams from the service department in terms of PDI and used car recon. So now they have to make it up from the consumer and not wasting any opportunity or any at-bats, that comes through the lane. And that's where TVI Market Pro 3 comes into play, because we bring you those at-bats and bring you those customers that you haven't seen before.